G'day guys, ZiggyD here and welcome back for another delve guide. One of the comments I've been seeing a lot is that people have not been finding fossils or resonators in delves, and some people have even been saying they've not really found much loot in delves in general. Well, there's a lot of loot in the delves, but if you just do the point-to-point, follow the crawler along, do the end of out event, you're going to get some stuff occasionally, but for the most part the really juicy stuff is hidden off in the darkness. And indeed, in this video, I'm going to give you guys a guide to farming the darkness. So I have a pretty decent amount of fossils and resonators here, and I've been using a bunch of these to craft with lately, and I farmed most of these yesterday using the methods that I'm going to show you in this video. Before we get started, however, let's talk a little bit about upgrades and some character-related stuff. So for this strategy, it's going to be centered around a combination of flares and darkness resistance. Darkness resistance is just like elemental resistances. You can get up to a cap of 75, and at the cap of 75, you can stand in the darkness for a very long time. Eventually, it does become unbearable, and you'll have to reset the darkness debuffs with some light, and a flare is an easy way of doing that. So I have a large number of flares, and I've stacked a fair bit of darkness resistance. Now, there's a darkness resistance penalty based on the depth of the delve. So in lower level delves, it's easier to have a higher resistance if you've stacked a bunch of resistance. So if you've been stacking darkness resistance, and let's say I'm 2% at depth 91, if I go down to depth 60 or something, I might be much higher darkness resistance. So that's pretty important. You're gonna wanna bring quite a few flares. Flare radius is helpful for doing higher level stuff, and dynamite to blow down those walls. There's probably gonna be a change to dynamite soon. GGG said where it'll only take one dynamite to kill a wall. So you might just want a high number of dynamite rather than upgrading dynamite damage in the future if that change has been made. Character-related things, some things will help you with the darkness, of course. High movement speed, phasing, phase run, or a quartz flask to phase through things are both very handy. High regeneration, any sort of like extra healing mechanics, life flasks. It's nice to have a powerful heal over time flask as well as some instant flasks. I just have 2 instant flasks at the moment. I'm using like Time of Need, for example, on the Guardian, which heals you a bit. There's quite a few other things that can mitigate the darkness. I won't go too into that here, but high move speed and some things that can heal you up and provide you some extra survivability in the darkness can be very handy. But this character is pretty simple and not really super built for farming the darkness, and yet I can still do this very well. If you're playing like a Queen of the Forest, ridiculous move speed character, then you'll just be that much more efficient. So there are 2 methods. The more standard method we'll start with first, and that is doing a delve and then running back to explore the darkness along the light cables. So you want to do a long as possible delve if you want to farm the darkness. If you do a short delve, like from here to here or even here to here, there may be like 1 or 2 side areas, and sometimes there may be none. The longer the delve, the more side areas you will get, and in these empty cells, you're going to have the breakable walls. So the dynamite exploitable walls, which have extra loot behind them, often quite a bit, are in these empty cells here. So whereas this delve goes quite a long distance and there's a bunch of empty area here, we're quite likely to see several breakable walls along this path. So let's go ahead and run this one. Now, while you can explore the side paths while the crawler is moving, the easiest and probably even the fastest way to do this is to clear the delve encounter, take the crawler to the end, complete the encounter, and then follow the light cable back along. So I'm going to cut ahead to the end of the encounter, and then we'll begin exploring the darkness. Alright, so that was a pretty long one. The delve encounter is complete, and now the cable has laid a bunch of lights, and we can go back and explore. So what we're going to do is we're going to head back along this path, and we're going to just check any side areas. So we're going to jump inside of them, as much as possible, just running down into the side area and not using flares. So if it's a shorter one like that, we can just run in, use a quicksilver, pop some flasks if we need to, and just use that healing and speed to grab what we can. You also want to just kind of duck in and see if you can see something useful. So I saw Lost Wealth, and if it's a longer one, then what we can do is we can go back in, pop my phase run, and then throw a flare, and then activate the chest or whatever it is that we want to loot, fight in there if we need to, and then run back. If you have enough healing and move speed, you might even be able to get in, get the loot, and get out without even needing to use a flare. And we can save those flares for the longer, more dangerous ones. This is one here, just lost ornaments. I ended up using the flare there. I ended up getting pretty close. Probably should have checked that a little bit ahead of time. The ones off to the south and left are a bit harder to see because of the UI. Let's pop in here. There is some jewelry there. That's not too exciting. Let's go ahead and pop a quicksilver here. Path through these guys. We're going to pop a flare just here. It's just lost ornaments, so we can get out of here. We're not too interested in that. We're looking mainly for those fossils and also chests that have currency and resonators. So we have a wall here. I'm going to pop a flare, Should take me 2 dynamites to blow up this, and it looks like we've got maybe some resonator stashes in here. So I'm just going to throw a flare ahead, and I do that by just moving forwards a little bit, pressing my flare hotkey, and there we go. Not bad. 2 resonators, one 3-socket resonator no less, which is very good, and a bit of currency as well. So already pretty good on this delve so far. So we're going to keep heading back along, seeing what else we can get. There's another section over here, so I'll just wait for a second, then I'm going to pop this. There's some forgotten loot there. This is a pretty long one, so I'm going to pop a flare somewhere in the midpoint. Grab a little bit of azurite, might as well. And it looks like that one actually loops back around, so we're not going to continue following that. Sometimes they'll cut through and go to a part where another crawler has been, or your crawler might have gone around a corner. So in that case, you don't really want to cut through there. I mean, we could take a shortcut through there, I guess, but there won't be any further loot in there. Sometimes there's a bit of a loot in the bend like that, you know, in one of the sort of midpoints, but it's not actually technically a side area. What we're mainly interested in is the side areas. All right, we've got another 2 side areas here, so let's go check out this one. This one's got some azurite. We'll go ahead and grab that. I popped a flare as I was grabbing it. That azurite pays for the flare, so no big deal there. And I still have 1 more flare, so we're going to try and be a little sparing on it if we can. We're going to use it here because there is indeed another fossil here. This is another one of those ones that kind of passed through. We ended up getting a fossil there. And now that we're out of flares, what you can do is if you go back to either endpoint, you can actually use a visit button in the top left of the map. So when you open up this map from the crawler, there'll be a visit button up here. And you can use that, and if you use that visit button to return, you can actually buy flares, come back, and continue exploring if you want. We can also just have a little bit of a poke up in here and see if there's anything potentially worth looting. The lost loot can have some okay stuff in it, but it's not too big a deal. There is another breakable wall there. So since there's another breakable wall there, we could indeed go back to the beginning and grab some more flares, come back and loot the rest of that. But I think you guys get the picture. So I only did about half of this. There's another, so there was a breakable wall there with some more loot behind it. There's another side area down there. Looks like another side area back there. And maybe another one over there as well. So there's like another maybe 4 or 5 side areas, and one of those looks a bit longer as well. So, and just from half of that, that's what we got. So that's not too bad, right? That's a pretty reasonable approach, and that's the pretty standard approach to delving. The upside of this method is you get more loot. You can do it at a higher level, closer to your level or the level of delves that you're up to. And you can get more general loot that can be useful. Here's that visit button there. So we can go buy and then return by using that visit button without losing the delve. So you'll get more higher level loot that's more relevant to you, and a bit more currency drops from monsters and things like that. The second method, however, is a little more crazy. So let's take a little bit of a look at that. Okay, so for this second method, I've been calling this doing nudie runs in the dark. I don't know, maybe there's a better name for it, but that's the name I've been using. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be going up a little bit. We're going to be heading back up to an area in the delves. We're going to try and find the approximate area where our darkness resistance is around cap. So what we'll do is we'll just jump into a delve somewhere, just clicking on the waypoint, and then we can open the achievements menu and go to delve, and we can see what our darkness resistance. So we're 68 at depth 58. So we're going to go up to maybe just a little bit higher than this, maybe somewhere around this area here. Now what we want to do is we want to look for an area that has a lot of crossroads and not too many dead ends. So something like this area here is pretty good. Now you don't need to do a delve to do this, and that's one of the real advantages of this method. You don't need to actually spend any sulfite, but we can maybe expand and find a better location to do this method by just doing a very short delve. So I might just do a very short delve to this sword over here, and that'll just take us to a pretty good crossroadsy point that we can do this nudie runs in the darkness method. That's the official name now as well, by the way. So we're just going to quickly get to this checkpoint. The delve itself doesn't matter. Obviously, we're not really getting anything from this delve, but we're just going to go ahead and complete it. All right, so once the encounter is completed, what we're actually going to do is we're going to go just to a different one for a second, just to refresh this. What we're going to do is move the map. So the way the game map works in delve is it's centered around the point of creation. And it's pretty large. It goes quite a big distance in each area. You can often find several delves in the one map. So we're just going to move to a different one and then go back to this one. And that'll recenter the map on the new delve. Otherwise, the map will be off-center based on the delve you just did. It might not make any sense, but we're just going to refresh it. So now that we're in here, what we're going to do, make sure you're full on flares and dynamite. And we're going to run in the direction of the areas we have not been to yet. So we're going to be doing a non-delve delve. We're going to be darkness diving deep into the delving darkness, without actually doing a delve, without spending any more sulfite. So it looks off to the right is going to be probably the best way to go. So believe it or not, we are just going to run in the darkness. And that's the reason why we wanted that 75 or close to resist. Phasing is going to help a lot for you to get through these monsters here. Like the previous method, this is going to be better if you have areas that have long distances between them, because there'll be more side areas. Because what we're doing is we're diving into the darkness, popping flares every now and then to strip the resist, and then we're going to be trying to look for those side areas. So there's a couple pretty close together delves here, unfortunately. But if we go a bit further, we should be able to find some side areas up here. There's an Azurite vein. The Azurite you'll get from low-level delves, lower level delves, won't be very much. So... but they can be enough to maybe just pay for some flares, which is the only real expense to this method. Alright, looks like we're going to have potentially some side areas up here. All these delves are super close together, so this might not be the best location. You're really looking for crossroads with some long delves near them, just to find that kind of best location possible. Let's pop a flare just to refresh the darkness debuffs, and here we go. Resonators, pretty good, not bad, and this goes a little further in. And currency. Very good, very nice. Let's keep going. See if we can find some more side areas. Use any flares you've placed in the past to just refresh those darkness debuffs if you can. And we're just going to keep heading in, running as quickly as possible. If you have a very high move speed character, like a Queen of the Forest build or something like that, this is going to be even a lot easier. Once you get to the point where you're out of flares and you're going to die, then that's the point where you just want to log out to the character select screen. Unfortunately, as I said, a lot of these delves are really close together here. If we look at the map, yeah, they're kind of close together. So we really want something like this where there's longer delves. So I'll try and find a better location. Okay, I'm going to try this delve here and see it, and then we can go left and up and left and down. So there should be a fair few routes we can explore over here. So off we go into the darkness once again. And we'll see if this is a pretty good one. Once you find the right area to do this, you can just get some ridiculous amounts of currency, resonators, and fossils and things like that. It's been quite fun. It's a little sketchy maybe, but a little unusual. But yeah, it's worked pretty well for me. All right, so here we have one fossil. Let's go ahead and grab that. There's another fossil. Is that a good one? Oh, bound fossils, very nice. Those are nice. So it looks like we've got some side areas here, so we're just going to explore all of these side areas here. There's some extra dynamite we could get if we need it. And looks like that's just jewelry. I better pop a flare just there to refresh. Oops, it looks like I did not stand on the flare, so I'm going to need to just hit another flare. There we go. All right, let's keep moving down here. Looks like there's another side area off up here. You can kind of eventually tell what looks like a main path versus what looks like a side area. We've got a wall here, so I'll go ahead and pop a flare. Might only take me one dynamite to blow this. Ah, just two. And in here we've got hidden wealth, bit of currency, not too bad. Let's just stand on that flare again to refresh, pick our next path. We're going to go this way. Looks like up here will be another side area possibly, or that might actually be the main path from the looks of it. Yeah, this might be the main path. There's some forgotten loot. Let's go ahead and just teleport around a little bit, and I'll pop another flare. Bit forwards. Okay, looks like we've got some side areas here, so let's go pop into these. There's another dynamite cache, which we can refill our dynamite at, so that's good. Let's go ahead and pop a flare there. That was my last flare, unfortunately, so we're going to have to finish this one up pretty soon. So see if we can get a little bit further here. Anything else? Nothing else in this one. Okay, so at this point, you know, we're out of flares, and at this point, we just have to hit that character select screen to avoid any darkness deaths. You can do this at very low levels, and it still works. And in fact, if you die at very low levels, you don't actually seem to get an XP penalty. So not bad so far. Not bad. That's a pretty good amount of currency there so far. Let's go back in and see if we can do just a little smidge more. All right, I'm going to see if I've done this one. Let's have a look. There's a pretty good amount of space off to the left that we can explore and see if we can find anything particularly juicy. Okay, so we're just trying to pick where the main path is, and then we'll be able to start noticing the side areas off of it. It'll be a little tricky to do in the dark, but with a little bit of practice, you'll get there. Looks like there's a delve endpoint. So we'll just pop a flare here just to refresh the debuffs. And then we're going to head up in this direction. See if we can't find some side areas. Looks like this is still path. Looks like this might be a side area here from looks of things. Now that's an endpoint, so that's probably a side area off to the right then. So we'll go up there. There we go, there's a side area with a fossil. Jag fossil. Not bad, not bad. And let's see if we can't head back along here. I don't have my minions out, so I'm not getting kills in the light when I put my flares down. It's handy if you do stop and get a few kills every now and then just to refresh those flasks. at the moment. I'm going to probably need to do that here. In fact, we just hit a flare cache, so this one will go on for quite a bit longer because we just got 4 additional flares. Let me just go ahead and raise some zombies and these guys will help me out. And away we go. Into the darkness once more. This looks like it might be a side area down here, so let's go check this. Actually, probably this is the side area here from the looks of it. No, that was a cross-through area, which means this is probably a side area. Yeah, here we go. That is currency. Pretty good amount of currency. Not bad. Looks like there might be a side area back up this way. We still have 7 flares. There is just some regular stuff there. Just a regular loot box, nothing special. Popped my heals a few times. Looks like there's some side areas down this way. Let's just pop one flare in the cross section here, and then we can explore these side areas. Nothing in those ones. What about down here? There's an Azurite vein. Won't be much Azurite in these low levels, so it's not even really worth grabbing if you go too lower level. If you're doing it at a slightly higher level, you can do it at a higher level depending on your darkness resistance. Basically, wherever your darkness resistance is capped or nearly capped. So in that 70 to 75 range. So the more darkness resist you have, the higher levels you can do this at. Looks like there's some lost jewelry there. It's not too useful. Let's try and get out of here. Should really get a quartz flask. Phase run's good, but it's got a kind of a longish cooldown. I don't have increased duration on it, so it does run out and leave me a little bit high and dry. So there's another side area down this way, and I still have 4 flares, so we can keep going. It's crazy how long you can do this for. Let's pop a flare just there, and we've got a wall here, so let's go ahead and blow this up. And it looks like in the wall is a bound fossil. That's a really good one. That's a summoner minion fossil. I really like those, so let's go ahead and grab that. By the way, I had to pop an extra flare there because the Devourers were blocking my path. Alright, and then let's head up this way. We've still got 2 more flares, so we can go a bit further. Old flare there, so that refreshes the debuffs. Very nice. And this is what you want. This is perfect. This is the perfect example here of one of these like longer areas where you can explore a lot of side areas by doing this. Let's pop a flare here. We've got another jagged fossil. Very nice. And this looks like it's probably going to be side area as well. It's just jewelry. So the only real cost of doing this method is the cost of flares. And if you're doing it at a mid-ish sort of level, then you'll actually get Azurite every now and then to pay for those flares too. And there's another jagged fossil. So we are out of flares, and that looks like it's pretty much the end of it as well. I mean, we could do just a bold run into the darkness and see if we can find anything else, but I think we've basically reached an endpoint here. So we're pretty much just going to hit that character select screen. And we'll take a look at what sort of loot we got from that little delving action. That 10 minutes or so of delving action. Let's take a look. So just from that second method, we got 4 chaos, couple other bits of currency item, a couple resonators. Didn't get any 3-socket resonators this time, but I have indeed gotten 3 sockets from this. And I see no reason we can't also get 4 sockets. And also got a couple bound fossils, which are really nice. So pretty good stuff. I'm gonna have some fun crafting with those things. Try and craft some more minion gear, perhaps. Anyway, guys, very interesting method. Give it a go. See if you can find some of those resonators and fossils and do some fun crafting. Maybe a bit of currency to fund your build. I thought I'd just share the joy, have some fun, use responsibly. That's it for now. I'm ZiggyD, and thank you very much for watching.